Communication works for those who work at it. It exists because the participants are able, capable, and willing to execute it. To effectively communicate with others, we must know and recognize that everyone have different perspective and ways in seeing the world, and we must use it as our guide in communicating with others. Now, to better understand and comprehend the meaning and the functions of communication in our today's society, I will be going to present to you my newly proposed model of communication. So I hope that you will be watching attentively and listen carefully so that you will learn plethora of things about communication. Hi, my name is Brendan Gabainfa, and today we're going to tackle about my newly proposed model of communication. This communication model is entitled as the forever sailing boat of communication, and the secret behind the title will be unfolded at the very end of this bridge of recitation. So I hope that you will be watching it to know the secret behind this title. Now, this model of communication is basically the unification of all the thoughts, ideas, and concepts of the different model of communication. So, first we are going to recognize the different elements consisted upon this model of communication. So, the first element on this model of communication is the sender, or the one who is going to send the message to the receiver. So the first sender is going to be represented by this circle. So the circle 1 is our sender. So as we go to the sender, it will be going to the encoding part. So this encoding part is the part in which the process is taking place after the thinking of thoughts of the sender. So she or he will be encoding the thoughts so that it could be given to the medium of communication. So this part or this rectangle is going to be the medium of communication. So as you can see, and as we all know, there are different kinds of noises affecting, distorting, and disturbing our messages as well as our thoughts and opinion. So these noises will be represented by these wavy lines. So this will be only applicable to the part in which the medium of communication exists, because that is where the noise exists, right? So starting from the sender to the encoding part until the medium of communication. So after the message has reached the medium of communication, the receiver will going to decode the message. So we are going now to the decoding part of my model of communication. So after the decoding part, the receiver is going to receive the message from the sender. So as you can see now, we have here the sender, the encoding process, the medium of the message, as well as the noise, which is represented by the wavy lines, the encoding or the decoding process rather, and then the receiver. So that is not the end of this communication model. So after the receiver has already received the message from the sender, he or she will then produce the feedback. So the receiver is going to encode again his thoughts or opinions or ideas or whatever it is, so that it could reach the medium of the messages. So receiver going to the encoding process and then going to the medium of communication. Now we all know that medium of communication also has these noises. So these noises will also be represented by the wavy lines in the lower part of the medium. So after the message has reached the medium of communication, the sender rather, which is initially the sender, is going to decode the message or the feedback from our receiver. So the process is now completed as the sender has already decoded the feedback from the receiver. So that is the foundation of our model of communication. But that is not the end of this communication. As stated by Scrum Model 1955 rather, communication can only exist or can be only considered as true communication if there is a shared field of experience. So communication can only exist if and only if there is a shared field of experience between the sender and the receiver. So we're going to divide this ship into two parts. First is the figure 1 and next is the figure number 2. So what are these figures? So we are going to represent this as the field of experience of the sender and the receiver. So we all know that communication only takes place if there is a shared experience, right? So we're going to draw a circle in between them. So the circle in between these two figures will be considered the shared experience or the shared field of experience between the sender and the receiver. So that is basically stating that communication really exists because there is a shared field of experience between the sender and the receiver. So as you can see my model of communication, if you see it in a different perspective or higher understanding perspective, you can see that my model of communication is representing or has the image representation of a boat sailing. So these elements are representing a boat, starting from the sender, from the encoding part to the medium of communication, to the decoding, sender, and to the rest of the part. It is somehow representing the image of a shape. And also we can see the noise, which is represented by the waves as the wave itself in the ocean. So it is really do representing a boat in the ocean. So the mystery behind the word forever, sailing boat of communication, is unfolded. But what is forever? Why is it completed? Or why is it included in the title? I included the title forever because we all know the communication doesn't end. It doesn't have a beginning. It doesn't have an end. So we must know that this boat is forever sailing. It will not end sailing. It will just go on and go on. Just like communication, it develops, it grows, but it never ends. At that, it doesn't have any beginning. It's the theory stated by our by the previous scientists or communicators, jurists. So that is basically my concept about my model of communication. So if you have any answers or feedbacks, questions, inquiries, you may send it here so that I could view it and answer it personally. And if you have any suggestions, you can send it in here so that I could see it and improve myself as well as my teaching. And I hope that you have learned tutorial things about communication. And if you still have different comments, you can comment it down below. So that would be it. My name is Brandon Gabay-Napa, and I hope that you learned the spirit of communication and the proper way of using it through my model of communication. So that would be it. Thank you and goodbye.